So, what are we going to talk about?
You tell me.
What do you mean? You didn't prepare anything?
I have not because you said you're gonna take care of everything.
That's true. I tell everyone I very much find that the clips that we produce out of this podcast when we just have organic conversation is way better than trying to script things and figure out what we're going to talk about. I
like
do have
that.
a couple topics that are just basic, but honestly, just keeping it open forum is the way to go. So today's the 31st of January.
Correct.
Can't believe that the first month of 2024 is already over as of tomorrow. And it's been busy.
It is. And like yesterday, I met somebody and they're like, "How's the market?
What'd you tell them?
Did it get better for you?" I just said, like, as soon as January 1st hit, I feel like everyone was calling me and like was ready to jump on and get on the searches and schedule showings. And so my month was pretty busy. And,
Why do you think that is?
um, I don't know. December was kind of slow, and I feel like people took a little time off. I mean, obviously because of the holidays, and maybe they were still waiting, like for the rates to drop a little
But they
more.
didn't.
I don't know. Some something just happened, and people became very confident about the market, and maybe we do see um, a lot of listings coming up, and buyers maybe a little more more aware of what's happening, and they don't want to miss out, or they don't want to wait till the like the market heats up in the spring, and they're gonna have or experience way more competition, and will have to pay more than necessary for a home. And I mean, I've been telling that to my clients since last year, so maybe it helped, and they finally realized, okay, if I don't need to move because I don't have children right now, and I don't need to move in spring before the school start, why don't I buy right now before it gets too hot and prices go higher, and more buyers are there to compete with?
Yeah, we've talked about the confidence a lot on the podcast where I feel like, interest rates finally got to a point where we were seeing a whole heck of a lot less volatility. So they haven't really come down, although today is the 31st again of January, and today the Fed meets, and we know that they're not going to do any kind of rate cut, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of talk of like what their kind of comments will do. So maybe we'll see interest rates come down slightly, but the funny thing to me is I'm seeing less real estate agents and lenders talk about rates coming down um, for two reasons. I mean, from a lending standpoint, they really haven't. They're just staying level. But then I think the other reason is because lenders and real estate agents alike are busy. So you're
Correct.
seeing less of those posts. You're seeing less of, like, hey, buyers, get on board. And it's funny to me because if I were not in this industry, the fact that those posts and comments are starting to go away, I don't think the average buyer goes, oh, well, the reason that they're going away is because they're busy. But that's the fact of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
And so as homes sell, as things pick up, as competition becomes more predominant, you're going to start to see people finally come off the fence. And then I think, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people that are just bummed.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, man. I mean, there's always this like self-sabotage I see, and maybe you can talk about this, but I see this self-sabotage sometimes with buyers where like things never go as well as they want, so they look to find reasons to like either back out of a contract or to be like, oh, now's not a good time to buy because it was before, and I just it's that Eeyore effect.
Mm-hmm.
You remember Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh? No?
I did not watch
Oh, that's
you.
right, Russian. Well, Winnie the Pooh was a cartoon that we watched as kids here in America, and Eeyore was this like sad donkey.
Yeah,
And every time you'd like talk to Eeyore,
he was
he'd
very
always be like,
bummed.
"Oh, I don't know.
I mean, there are people like that.
Eeyore. Well, that's what I'm just talking about with certain buyers. It's like
Yeah.
there's no market where they're happy, and now as I said, the real estate agents are getting quiet because they're becoming busy. And when I say quiet, I mean just on social media, just on going out as much. You're seeing less of it because they're too busy. They've got other shit to do. They're closing deals. And I'm waiting for things to really heat up, and then you're going to find that guy who was waiting, who's going to turn around and go, "Welp, I missed it again. Eeyore."
I don't think anyone will. um, I don't know. I'm not gonna see bias like that because I'm thinking just people don't admit that they missed out. Plus like I don't have clients who are like that. I don't know. Maybe
Tell us
I'm
about your
lucky.
clients.
I'm lucky enough with I have I mean so when somebody reaches out to me, obviously I don't know the person, right? And they find me on Realty.com or Zillow or Google, and I usually, I mean, I try every time to get to an appointment and meet with them in person. And when I do go over by a presentation and I explain the process, etc. And in that during that meeting, I pretty much discover, do I like this person or not? Like
Mm-hmm.
I ask them the right questions. I figure out how ready they are, and if they are like ready to go tomorrow, obviously we get them pre-approved and I'll schedule showings. But if they're saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna see for 6 or 12 months," or "I have a lease I just signed up on and I have to wait," then I'll keep in contact. But I'm not gonna put all my energy into this buyer because they're just not ready. And then they're gonna tell me like if I do send something like a perfect property they told me they want to buy in the future, they're not gonna jump on it. Like then I'm gonna just waste my time and their time. But
Do you think that comes from? Do you think that comes from? Is it do you do those things because of experience, or do you do those things because that's the way you were taught? Like, because I talk to you see these memes on Facebook and videos and all of that I know a little bit of it is like satire where they're kind of joking, but it's like I ran this client around to 900 homes and then they decided they were going to rent, or there's just a lot of talk of clients wasting real estate agents'
mhm,
time. So you just described setting boundaries.
correct.
And so was that something you were taught to do, or is that something that you've kind of learned the hard way?
I mean, I did the wrong way when I was starting out as a
Mm-hmm.
real estate agent because first of all, you don't have so many clients, you have so much time on your hands, and you kind of need the practice.
Okay.
So you run around those buyers maybe who are not ready and willing to purchase in that moment, but at least you go look at the homes with them, you discover things um, to talk about within the home, point things out that are important, maybe go through like a offer process and then they back out because obviously not ready. But at least you like get the practice. In the end, it does waste your time because when you do get busier and you have clients who are ready, you're taking the valued time from them,
Mm-hmm.
wasting it with somebody who's not ready, correct?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to, yeah, set boundaries and meet those people before you even start investing your energy in your time and your knowledge into someone who's not ready yet.
When you meet with clients, do you feel like there's kind of a there's a vetting process, or like certain things that you ask where you're able to almost as like a tip or trick to other real estate agents? Is there anything that you do that kind of helps you identify who is going to waste your time versus someone who's really, really serious?
I
Or do you
mean,
just come right out and ask?
most of the times is intuition.
Okay.
And if it's a couple, I mean, if I do present something and they start like arguing about it, I know already they're not on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's some things they do which make me, yeah, realize okay, this is, and I do like meeting in person because I would like to know like can I help, like can I work with you even. I don't just work with somebody who maybe wants to work with me, but we don't connect.
What's an
Like
example of someone you wouldn't connect with?
oh my gosh, who's like know it all.
What is it?
Know it all.
Oh,
Like
a know-it-all. Got it.
who tells me from the beginning I don't know what I'm talking about. I
Gotcha.
cannot talk. I
Those
cannot
guys are
work
out
with
there.
people like that. You either ask me for help and you listen to what I have to say,
Hmm.
or like if you know everything, then you don't need me.
Right. No,
Like,
it's a good point. I mean,
um,
one of the biggest, I don't hear it as much as I used to, but, back in like 2008 when everything went crazy in the mortgage industry, prior to 2008, it was like almost everybody was a loan officer. And
mhm.
so in 2009, all the way until like 2016, it was really common that someone would like reach out and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about refinancing or purchasing a home." And within like the very first like three sentences in the introduction was like, "I just want to let you know I used to like be a loan officer. So like I know kind of like, what's going on and all that kind of stuff." So like I would just think like, "Well, you obviously weren't that good at it." Right?
Otherwise, you wouldn't
Otherwise,
still
you'd still
doing
be
it.
a loan officer, and then you wouldn't be on the phone with me. Number one is the first thing I think of. And then number two, like, you clearly didn't do it long enough because if you did, you would have people that stayed in the business that were your coworkers and colleagues. But apparently, like, you were a loan officer for such a short period of time, you made no relationships and
Mhm.
you sucked at your job, so you had to go do something else.
Correct.
Right?
Plus, I mean, the industry changes all the time. Like, are you up to date? Like,
Sure.
what's happening right now? And the market changes, and like, it's just if you exit, even as a realtor, don't tell me like you've been in real estate for 15 years because you still have your license. But when did you actually sold your last house? That's the question.
Yeah. I see a ton of that. Oh, I've been a real estate agent for 15 years. And, we kind of
I get to hear
I
all the
pull
time.
I go to the MLS or whatever and pull their production and they haven't sold a home in like 5 years. And then yeah, the other one that I love to say is like I've been a real estate agent or lender for 15 years, but you start to have conversations and you realize they've been a real estate agent or a lender for 1 year 15 times, right? Like they they never really like did much in their career in year one and they're still in year one 15 years later.
Wow. Yeah, because they're not
Yeah,
improving and
they're just the
not
same,
growing with the yeah, yeah,
right?
that's true.
So
So
know-it-alls, do you run into a lot of know-it-alls?
not really, no,
Okay,
no,
that's good.
not really.
I mean, I
I'm
feel
like
like I
I'm
run
not
into my
working
fair
with them.
share in my business, but um,
Another would be like I don't know. I mean with a lot of male buyers, obviously, and if he gives me a wrong vibe, I
you mean
don't
like creepy?
creepy.
Yeah, they're out there.
Creepy. I do not work. Yeah, I won't feel safe to be in an empty house with a client like that.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that. Um, so yeah, I think the point I'm trying to get across and trying to create the clip for is, I deal with agents all the time that I feel like are always, acting like they're super duper busy and they're just like flustered all the time and they've got a million things going on and they just don't close that much business. And I always wonder, it's like, are they either saying that because they want people to think they're busy, or are they saying that because they're spending a lot of time with clients that aren't serious and so they legitimately are busy, but they're not doing money making activities?
Hmm.
Um, so it's good to hear, real estate agents and even you being a veteran kind of saying, hey, creating boundaries with these clients and making sure that they're going to, because I think we've talked about it. Um, I think that you were mentioning this just a couple weeks ago. I mean, you had a client that you showed like two or three homes to in like a 2 or 3 month timeline, and you kind of were like, "Hey, we want to, I want to like create a relationship here. What's really going on?" And then they kind of, once you kind of called them out for, you didn't tell them that they were wasting time, but you kind of called them out and they disappeared, right?
Correct. Yes, and like I don't want to be pushy, and I don't I don't call him every day and ask him, hey, would you like to like sign my buyer's agreement because I want to work with you,
Hmm.
etc. And then so I met with them twice within 2-3 months timeline,
And
and
they were willing to take up your time, right? They weren't just like, "Hey, just open this door." Like they were willing to sit. They were willing to meet with
we
you.
would spend at least an hour at the house first look at the house and then discuss the entire purchase process. Well, I thought like, okay, now I'm bringing you value. I'm answering all your questions. Like, let's get it on paper. I mean, I want to make
Sure.
it official. I don't want to spend my time here with you and every time. First of all, they're like very, very busy, like working all the time or traveling or whatever they do. And then when they're ready and they're like, okay, Ina, can we see tonight? I'm like, tonight I can't. Tomorrow maybe. And
Mm-hmm.
then can we meet at our office? I'm like, no, we want to see this house. Can we meet at the house? And I've done this twice with them. And the third, I'm like, if they do reach out to me, I'm not gonna go to show them a house. I'm gonna meet them at the office or make them. If they decline, then I know they're not interested in purchasing right
What do you
now.
think
But
that's about with them for starters, and then in general?
about what?
Well, I mean, why do you think they're unwilling to commit to you being their real estate agent? Why do you think, what are their concerns? I mean, if we had them in here right now and we just flat out or had the opportunity to call them out and say, what, you know, you have a real estate agent that is, meeting with you right away. You guys are spending, weeks where there's zero communication. It's almost like you're gone, then you're back, and you want to see a house that day.
Hmm.
And when I am sending you over the documentation as a real estate agent saying, hey, I want you to commit to me as your real estate agent, they just refuse to do that. What do you think the reason is?
I don't know. I think what I've been doing wrong with them is like taking the time with them, sit down and explain why I'm a value. Like, why should they hire me? Why should they work with me? Because like I feel rushed to like even at the house, I don't have all my paperwork with me to go through the process exactly, and then to show them the value of a real estate agent. And I feel like they just don't understand how it's working, like how it's supposed to work, how we get compensated, how like what the real estate agent does for them,
Mm-hmm.
like all the values I still feel like I couldn't present, and they're not willing to give me the time for me to do
Right.
so.
They just want to view the house because they
Exactly.
don't really want to
Yeah,
hear what you have to say.
exactly. And maybe they go online and read everything about that, and they just feel like they just need me to pretty much open the door.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because I think about that from a sales standpoint, and it's like,
Because I'm asking, like, I reach out, like, hey, can we meet? Like, I want to go with you, like, over everything
mm-hmm,
to show you what it's all about, how it works. Like, they didn't even, like, uh, get a pre approval.
mm-hmm,
Like, they're not even there yet. I wanted
mm-hmm.
to set up with, I mean, I sent them your link
Yeah,
to start the pre approval
sure.
process because I'm like, I don't know if you can even afford this house. Like, why are we even here?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I'm failing off like
Yeah. Well, and again, so getting inside of a client's head, I mean, what is that all about? And, you know, I don't know, just because it's harder for me to kind of think about because I'm not in the, or I'm in the business, so I know the importance of the things that we're talking about. But it's like, what are they afraid of that we're going to
I
like,
don't know.
haha, gotcha. Like, now you owe me a bunch of money. Like,
I don't know. I don't know. And maybe I do remember one time they did ask me if they can work with several realtors at the same time, and maybe they think um, they just this is how it works. I just think they don't know everything. They're not as knowledgeable as they think they are, and they just
kind of
um,
like a know it all.
maybe, I don't know. Like why are they thinking that they can work with several agents at the same time?
Well, because in their mind, if they
Because
can
they don't
find a
know.
property, then they're going to shop a bunch of agents and say, like, what are you going to do for me? Right.
They never asked me that, so I don't know. I don't know what.
So I'm glad we're having this conversation because I think about this sometimes with real estate agents. Like, what stops people from, ultimately asking questions like, hey, do you understand how the real estate, do you understand how I get paid? Right.
Nothing. I mean, this is what you should cover from the beginning.
Right. But that's my point. Like, you've met with them twice and they're like, we need to see this home. And it's like, hey, I just want to stop you very quickly before we even go and view this property. Like, do you understand the loan process and the way that I'm compensated? And not just me, but all real estate agents,
Mm,
and really just have that hard conversation and say, my biggest fear here is that I've already viewed two homes with you. We spent a lot of time. My
mm-hmm.
time is valuable. And you guys are constantly telling me how valuable your time is because you're such big shots.
Mm-hmm.
You've got so much going on with your jobs and you're traveling. Like, you know, you guys are fancy as fuck,
I
right?
mean, I wouldn't talk to them like that,
But
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 yeah,
I'm just saying,
yeah.
and it's like, so what seems to be the issue here in committing to, a real estate agent? It, you know, are you trying to negotiate something once you're under contract? And at the end of the day, I think you've got a strong possibility in that conversation where they won't even answer it. They're going to be like, you know what, we feel very uncomfortable right now. We feel like you're forcing us to like, answer questions that we don't feel comfortable answering.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're right back to where you started,
Square one, yeah.
you know? And it's like, going back to what you said, is it really just ignorance? Like, I don't know. Like, is it really ignorance where buyers and sellers are like, oh, I didn't know, which is ironic because there's a lawsuit of a bunch of, sellers being like, oh, I didn't know. Well, is it possible that buyers and sellers don't want to know? They don't want to have those conversations. It's just easier for them to, whenever anything goes the way that they don't want it to be like, I, I didn't know.
To blame and
I mean, I
someone,
had a
yeah.
real estate agent. Get this. This one will do great. I had a real estate agent have a client that was, uh, a buyer. He's been running this buyer for over a year, right? He finally finds her the exact property that she's looking for, meets all of her metrics, right? They get under contract. It's a, 30-year-old home. So they go through the inspection. The inspection's like super clean. There's like a mark behind the door as far as like, because there wasn't like
Like
a
a
door stopper.
Oh,
The inspector suggested that the furnace get cleaned, like it
uh-huh.
was running, but suggested it get clean. And the inspection report, all things considered, is like no problem whatsoever for a
Like typical for
30-year home.
30-year-old.
Yeah, for a
Yeah.
30-year home. Like, so he sends over the inspection report, and the woman is just like, we have to terminate this contract. There is just way too many things. Like, I thought you told me that this house was in good condition, and basically tried to blame the real estate agent because she felt that he told her, hey, this looks like a good home. I think it's reasonably priced. Here's the comparable sales. And she's like, you know, this home is not what you
You
said it
lied
was.
to me.
There's so many things that are wrong with it and this and that. And so he was like, listen, I've shown so many homes to you, and this home meets exactly what you have told me that you've been looking for. It meets the price, it meets
Mm-hmm.
the square footage, it meets the location, it meets everything. And so I feel like we are in a position to where either you are just not serious about purchasing a home, or you're not like being straightforward in terms of what it is that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And either way, I don't feel like we're a good fit any longer because I have just spent way too much time and I have found you the exact home that you wanted. And the sellers, by the way, agreed to do all of the things in the inspection. And she
Wow.
still wanted to back out, and he was just like, I
No.
can't do this any longer. And you know what she said? Grow up. Oh, grow up.
Girl, how old is this woman?
And so like,
That's
but
insane to
like
me.
my point is like, I guarantee if
You
you were
cannot
to,
change that
well,
though.
no, but here's my point. I guarantee if you were to say to her, like, you understand that, like, with zero compensation, you have a real estate agent that has shown you multiple properties, written contracts. This has been over a year now. And when they're like, yeah, I just don't think we're a good fit any longer, your response is like,
Grow up.
grow up. Now, either this woman is just a complete see you next Tuesday, or I think, going back to our conversation, there's a lot of like ignorance. Oh, well, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know that this guy, this real estate agent, probably has like 20 hours worth of work, just straight up,
Mm-hmm.
of work, not even maybe counting like looking for, I mean, there's a lot of man hours that go into showing a buyer homes for a year.
Correct. Yeah.
And for someone to say, hey, you know what, I quit, and their response is like, grow up, it literally almost makes me wonder, again, I just like to think that people just aren't that terrible. And maybe she thinks that real estate agents get compensated, but then like, I feel like everybody knows. And I just don't understand how, and we've talked about this before, I sometimes feel like people are like, well, if you're stupid enough to do it, real estate agent, if you're dumb enough to show me like, you know,
To
40
show,
homes in one
it's on
year,
you.
it's on you because you're an idiot. Like, I don't know.
No, I think they either forget it because we do mention it in the beginning, like through, when you go through your consultation,
Hmm.
you tell the people, like, even if you're listing a home, right? If the client is like wants to list the house way overpriced, and you as an agent take it on and tell them, okay, let's look at them, let's watch the market, see what happens. In the end, like if you don't sell, you spend your marketing money and everything like on this home, and you don't get paid because you couldn't sell it because the seller didn't listen to your
Hmm.
to your market analysis or
Right.
whatever. Same with the buyers. I mean, we do say like we don't get paid until you get your keys. It's like we work for free until you purchase a house, and
Sure.
it can take a year or two. And yeah, what do you do, right?
Well, on a positive note, going back to, current present market, I look forward to clients like that going away because I didn't see a lot of that when things were really, really busy. Those markets, or excuse me, those clients seem to like fade away
Mm-hmm.
because when you're busy, like you just have no time for them. And those are always the people that I feel like I see were like, oh, I'm not buying in this market. Everything's so crazy. And
Correct.
then I can't help but think in the back of my mind, like, are you one of those assholes that like nobody wants to deal with? That's really why you don't want to buy because no one's willing to like lick your boots.
They don't want to compete with other buyers
Right,
because they don't want
exactly.
to pay
Yeah.
extra or whatever. They don't want to waive contingencies, or they just, yeah.
Well, and we're seeing people come off the fence way more. We're seeing, less, like I said, less agents are talking about rates and whatnot because they're busy. And then what I really think is the next wave is as soon as you have, what we call like your move up buyer, because a lot of the people who are coming off the fence now are your first time home buyers, but I'm starting to see a lot of like simultaneous closings. I mean, we have a transaction that we're working on together where it's a simultaneous close. Um, and once those people who own homes are willing to sell, that's really when things are going to take off, and I'm
Hmm.
super excited about it. And I think that again, there's never really a best time to buy, or at least there's no way to predict it. You can always look back, but I think 2024 is going to be a very busy year, and I think part of that is just going to be the organic, kind of movement in the market. But then we also have an election year, and looking back, election years are always really, really good because somebody wants to get elected, so they seem to make things a little more
And they
exciting.
promise
Yeah.
everything what people want to hear. But even if you're buying right now and the rates are not as low as they were 3, 4 years ago, um, what do we tell buyers? Like,
Well, you can always refinance, and
exactly.
yeah, that
And
was a little bit about what I wanted to touch on. As I went through my past pipeline, I called one of our past clients
who
because
is
they're eligible to refinance. I don't want to mention their name on the podcast, but um, they I'm going to set an appointment with them because they're one of the candidates that we're already in that position to where I have some clients that are eligible now to save anywhere between like $300 to $500 a month
oh, that's
by
amazing.
refinancing. And so the question that I always get when I call people that are eligible, they always kind of say, well, is now the best time to refinance? And the truth is that we are seeing interest rates kind of stay the same and then trickle down a little bit. So one of the things that I have kind of concocted is I want to get in front of these clients that are eligible to refinance right now, but we want to go ahead and kind of like get everything put together, take application, and then hold the file and watch the market a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we can be in a position to where we can kind of agree on what I like to call as a strike point.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just, using round numbers, let's just say you're at a 7% interest rate. Typically most people want to save at least like 1%, sometimes a little more. So if somebody is somewhat realistic in their strike point and we're like, well, we're at a 7%, Matt, I'd really like to see a 5.5 or a 5.25. It's like, great, let's take application. Let's get everything put together. So if and when that rate becomes available, we literally just click the button and we move forward. And we just kind of follow up every week and say, here's what the market's doing this week. Here's here's what, if we were to do this today, here's what you could save.
Mm-hmm.
If we wait, maybe we can get there. And then at least the best part is we're in a position to where if we see rates go up, we can lock that loan and say, hey, we locked it. You're safe. You actually have a rate that's locked in a market that doesn't exist any longer, and we can move forward from there. So I'll
How
be
lo-
reaching out to a lot of my clients, but that's the when, right? That's the when to
yeah,
read.
how long can you wait then? Is
I,
there like a time limit
I mean,
or just
we have to update credit, but no, I mean, there is no
okay?
time limit, and
So
that's
you're
the,
just sitting in the system
yeah,
you're like, okay,
correct.
and as
But
soon as you think,
what we don't want to do is have somebody that, reaches out and says, all right, I'm ready to go. What can you do for me? Like, and then,
but then it's
we're
rushed. Yeah.
scrambling and yeah.
No, that's a good idea of getting kind of pre-qualified
Mhm.
for refinance.
Yeah, so those of you with interest rates that are in, the mid 6% range or higher, I mean, reach out to me. We'll put together a file. We'll get everything ready and we'll flirt with the market. We'll do weekly updates letting you know where everything is. And we won't push the button until you say so, unless interest rates go up, and then we'll save the day. And you know what? Here's the other thing. I mean, if we lock your loan and we're like, yeah, we're only able to save you like $150 a month, and you were really hoping for like 300, if it's not good enough for you, I mean, you don't have
You
to
don't
move
have to,
forward,
yeah, you don't
right?
have to refinance.
But you might
That's
call me back a week later after you're all fussy and you're like, well, I'm not doing it. And then you go, all right, we thought about it. We've calmed down.
yeah.
Yeah, $150 a month. We could definitely utilize that savings. So that was the first part that I wanted to touch on. And then the second thing that I just read today was, purchase applications are actually down like 1% year over year from last year, which was kind of
Really?
surprising to
Yeah.
me. I think it's just because, January and December, excuse me, this was in December. It's just
Ah,
December is a
okay.
slow month.
Yeah.
Um, so they can't, measure January because it's the 31st, but um, refinance applications are up like 8%.
Wow.
And I think a lot of that is cash out refinance. I don't think a lot of it is like what we call rate and term refinance, where people are just lowering their rates.
Hmm.
So, yeah, those of you with equity, those of you with debt, all of that kind of stuff, interest rates are definitely lower than they've been over the last 18 months. Might be a good time to tap into that equity. Which brings me to my next point, which is, and I've already done a little bit of like a rant on this, if you will, but blended rate. Do you know what that means? You could say no. Most people don't.
We've talked about it, but I cannot
So this is for people who
remember.
have taken out a home equity line of credit already. This is for the person that bought a home in like 2020 and
Hmm.
then in like 2022 took out a home equity line of credit, and that home equity line of credit was an adjustable rate and now it's at like 8%, right?
Mm. Bless
Excuse me.
you.
And
Bless you.
so, you know, I get phone calls from a lot of people that are like, "Oh, what can I do with my home equity line of credit? Like, how can I reduce this?"
Can you
And
refinance?
you can, but nobody
Okay.
wants to do them. Not even the company that did them originally.
Hmm.
It's just not very profitable. And so people are like, "What can I do about this?" And the blended rate is where we can put in, through a formula to figure out what it is you owe on your first mortgage, what it is that you owe on your second mortgage. And in fact, if we're going to do that, we might as well look at some of the credit card debt that you currently have and put that in as well and figure out what your overall debt blended rate is. Because we find that a lot of people, they're looking at maybe like their 3.5% on their first mortgage, and they're like, "Oh, I can't touch that." But then they can't find anybody that's going to lend them money, and they're paying 27% on a credit card, 9% on a home equity line of credit. And here's the part that I always kind of tease people on. And they work at like a salary job. So there's zero possibility that all of a sudden, unlike a salesperson or a small business owner, that they're going to come into some windfall
Hmm.
and like pay off this debt. So it's like, what's the plan? And then we do the full blended rate calculator, and they're paying something like 7 or 8% altogether. And it's like, we could consolidate all of this debt, put it at something well below an 8%,
Hmm.
and then focus on either saving money monthly and providing some relief, or taking the savings that we're saving and reinvesting that back into the actual mortgage, maybe shorten your term, pay off all the debt faster because we're paying less interest all in.
Hmm.
So
I
It's
think
something.
a lot of people don't even know. I mean, I didn't know that that's a possibility of blending all your debts together.
Debt consolidation. And yeah, we obviously we want to use the equity in the property and the home as the collateral to do so,
Mm-hmm.
because banks and lenders feel much more comfortable and confident being what we call first lien position, so they're the only loan
Mm-hmm.
on a home, because unlike a car or anything, you can't, it's really tough to just like pick up a home and hide it,
Yeah.
right?
So how soon after you purchase a home can you do that?
That's a great question. So
Because I don't know, like people signing documents right now, like I'm gonna consider it over.
so most companies are going to require that, um, to use the future to use. So I run into this a lot. Someone buys a home and let's just say they buy it for 500,000 and then they close on it. And then they're like, I know this house is worth every bit of like 575,000.
Correct.
How do I tap into the $75,000? Cause I'm so smart and I'm such a good negotiator.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most of the time in those situations, most banks and lenders want to wait 1 year,
Okay.
because if you just bought that house for 500,000, who's to say that the house next door is not going to now sell for 500 and the next one's going to sell for
They
500,
want to
which
see the market
exactly.
first.
So to
Yeah.
tap into that equity, typically you're going to have to see you're going to have to own the home for a year. I do know companies that I refer out that do home improvement loans after you own the home that will go off of what the home is going to be worth after you make the improvements.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get some of those done. There's a ton of stipulations with it. It's not the most cost-effective way to do things, in my opinion. But if you just can't wait that year and you have to have, that new kitchen or whatever, we can get it done. But it does come at a little bit of a premium.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Outside of that, the last thing I really wanted to touch on with reducing interest rates, and we've had this happen quite a bit, and every single agent actually who's ever been on this podcast who refers a business, we've all had this happen where you have a client, they decide they want to go with a new build, and then these builders are like, yes, we're going to inflate your purchase price so that we can give you seller concessions to go towards all your closing costs and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it can't be used anywhere else.
Correct.
So if all things were equal, I mean, gosh, some of these builders, lenders, we would be so much less expensive, but they're not equal.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing we can do. And then of course the real estate agent and the buyer are like, Matt, we're so sorry. We wish we could use you, but we just can't leave all
Incentive.
this money on the table. And
Mm-hmm.
I totally get it. So those are the clients that I have in my system, because a lot of them I've got pre-approved ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And even so I will be reaching out to them as well, even if they closed with the builder's lender, because the builder's lender is not going to give you any incentives the next time around. And yeah, those are going to be
Future
people that, yeah.
refinance
So if
clients. Mm-hmm.
anyone who went with a new build, who follows that, is looking to refi, good luck contacting your previous builder's lender. And by the way, chances are you probably didn't have the best experience to begin with. You went with them for the seller incentives. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be the last thing. All of these new builds, and this one really just goes out to my real estate agents, where, keep me in mind if and when those clients are contacting you saying, hey, I kind of want to refinance my interest rate, but I had such a terrible time with the builder's lender. Who would you recommend? So a lot of that coming down the pipe, I feel like, for 2024. And I'm trying to think of what other information that the average consumer or real estate agent needs to know. I think on the refi end of things.
I mean, refi is a biggie.
Mhm.
I mean, we were talking about refinancing like pretty much for the entire last year when people were purchasing homes and getting those high interest rates. And yeah, we couldn't say, oh, you will be able to refinance like in a year or two. I mean, obviously, we
Can't
don't
guarantee
know.
it.
We cannot guarantee it, but we would pretty much tell him like, hey, you're not like staying with this rate forever.
Sure.
The market changes all the time. It goes up and down, and as soon as it goes down, just refi and you'll save your monthly payments.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if, so the whole rate thing kind of lasted a little longer than we had anticipated. It's going to be 2 years basically come mid-March. And I almost wonder if there's buyers out there that bought homes in, let's just say, like 18 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
And when interest rates come down, obviously their property value appreciated.
Correct.
And when interest rates come down, I almost wonder if there's going to be buyers that were like, you know what? We were going to refinance, but we've decided now we're going to sell and buy another home and get a lower rate
Yeah.
instead of refinance. Because what's the point of refinancing if you're going to, sell?
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly have not really thought about this until just now. But yeah, I mean, you've got an entire group of people that bought over the last 24 months that refinancing versus buying almost is like, well, which is better for you?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, in 2 years' time, like you could have had a kid, you could have gotten divorced, someone could have died. Like life changes
Or you
in two
just want to
years,
move out of
or
this
you just want to
expensive
move out,
city called Austin.
right? Or you want to move to the suburbs and take your money and run.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that, but like one of the, we talk about inventory. Maybe all these people that we were like, don't worry, you can refi. They're like, actually, it was long enough now that I've decided I'm no longer going to refinance. I'm going to buy a new home. And instead of taking my rate from the 7% that I'm paying on right now down to like 5%, I'm just going to buy a new one at 5%
Mm-hmm. And get
and
the
do it in one,
equity. Yeah.
and do it
And
and
use
just,
it as a down payment
how
for your
funny
next
would that
house.
be for like the people who were like,
Well, if you are, if you want to like go over the options, obviously reach out
totally.
to us. I mean, we will tell you what's possible, what's not.
But
and-
the more I'm thinking about this, it's like, it's actually not a crazy idea for real estate agents. Like, here's my new thing. You as a real estate agent, number one, should be doing like reviews on all your past clients to begin with,
Of
right?
course, we do it every year.
Yeah. So like any one of your clients that bought between March of 2022 to basically, I mean, within 6 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
you should contact every single one of those clients and, obviously say, hey, how are you? And then from there, like, look, you've got what's considered to be a high rate. Are you geared up for a refinance in the next, couple months or even year when rates come down?
Or
Or
do you want a down or
have you
upgrade?
thought about the possibility of just taking advantage of the low rates on a new purchase of a home, and instead of refinancing this one, just dump it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good conversation.
Yeah.
And of course, even if they're all like, no, I love my home, I'm gonna stay here forever, like, still a good conversation.
Still, yeah.
And I feel like you might find people that are like, that's not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why focus on refinancing when I can get a low rate and get a new home?
Correct. It's a good option to have.
Dude, it's the best option because real estate agents, you guys don't benefit on a client refinancing.
No.
You benefit from a client purchasing a home. So why should you guys not capitalize on the reduced rates for your past clients like we do?
Mm-hmm.
And so now that I think about it, that's going to be my new pitch to some of these clients. Like, have you considered moving instead of refinancing
Mm-hmm.
and maybe being able to generate leads for all of the referral partners that send me business?
Correct.
I got a lot of thinking to do. For real. I mean, that's
A lot
freaking
of thinking to
genius.
do. No, it's yeah, I agree. But wait, when was it? You said 2022.
Hmm. I mean,
Isn't
yes, the client
when
would
the
only really be
prices
in the
were
home.
higher than they are right now?
What do you mean?
Like when
Well, I mean, property values have
property-
appreciated. It's not like
No.
they're going to make a boatload of money on the property. It's only been like 18 to 24 months. But they could
Exactly.
definitely sell it and get out from underneath it. The house is going to be worth more than what they, paid.
Like I'm just thinking about one client of mine, and I don't remember what year they bought. I mean, they paid 100,000 over appraised value, for example.
Well, I mean, it's really just about what you could sell it for. And
But that
they should contact
exactly.
a real estate agent and figure that out.
Yes, they
Depending on
do.
where you purchased, there are areas that have done very well in the last 18 to
Mhm.
24 months. So,
And that's why we do the annual reviews to show the client like, is it smart for you if you want to like move up to a different house to sell right now, or maybe you should stick around for a year or two longer where you're right now and get to the value it is.
do you have any like new announcements or anything new that you're doing? I know that for a lot of people, they've done their like 2024 planning and everything along those lines. Is there anything that you're excited about this year that's kind of new in your career?
In my career, I mean, the biggest thing is when Realty Austin and Compass
That's true. Yes,
became
you
one
now
brokerage.
you now are with Compass.
Yes, and all the new systems for us, they're new. The Compass provides. It's like it's a little challenge in some aspects.
Well, yeah, you're learning some new stuff.
Exactly, and I hear a lot of feedback from other agents how difficult or easy it is using the new systems.
Hmm.
And I'm still figuring things out, but they do provide a lot of valuable information to us, and it's easy to use. And for example, we have like business tracker where we put all our clients in, and we can not just like sign documents through the system, but run like comparable market analysis, and they're all pretty, and it's all digital, and it's just something we can give to our clients when doing annual reviews, for example,
That's really
where
cool
they
that
can,
Realty Austin hooked you up with all of that through Compass.
yeah.
You know,
But there are a couple of things which like are not automized, which are not saving us time. But I think it's coming,
like
so we are
automated.
still automated. Yeah, not automized, automated. We're still learning, and we're still combine. Like we're still combining things and make it better for all of us. But this is like, I think, like in December and November was like the biggest challenge to get into the new systems and make the best out of it, and so we can provide the best to our clients. And like starting from presentations, right? Like now they're different for us, and we have to fill in our information and our reviews and our testimonials, and to learn all of that is just that's the biggest news thing for me right now. Other than that, I mean, I do like that the business is picking up. I like to be busy. I like to serve my clients and meet new clients and build relationships and continue to grow my relationships with previous clients. Love when my clients reach out to me and just ask me how am I doing.
Yeah. Well, and I work with a ton of real estate agents, so I have an interesting. This is something that I feel like people in my position don't get enough credit for. So real estate agents don't work with other real estate agents as like buyers or sellers. I mean, your real estate agent is going
Yeah,
to
do it for
sell their own
myself.
home,
Yeah.
right? You're going to do it yourself. And then clients, the general public, they probably work with one, maybe two real estate agents in their entire, their entire lives,
Hmm.
right? I mean, how many homes does the average person buy? And then I get to see agents work on a regular basis. And, you and I have worked together now for 5 years, and kind of watching you evolve and just getting really, really good at, and I'm saying this because I feel like most people don't understand what, is different with clients. And one of the things that I always just have seen you get really, really good with, well, number one is the boundaries, which is fantastic. I mean, that's just a personal thing, but I think that people don't think about how that can affect them as your client, because, you're really bending over backwards for the clients that commit to you.
Hmm.
But then more importantly, I've seen you get really, really good at the negotiating process, which is something I pitch on this podcast all the time.
Hmm.
Um, you're not just an order taker. You are selling homes. You are, really advocating for your client on the buy side. And every agent says they do that. And I'm here to tell you, like, not every agent is doing that. Some agents are fearful of rocking the boat.
Hmm.
They're fearful of offending a listing agent or something along those lines. And there's definitely a dance to it. I mean, you can offend the
Oh,
sellers,
they
that's
just
for
get
sure.
offended. It's not.
Or they just get offended and then they move forward still. But um,
Um,
yeah, I'm just it's an interesting viewpoint that I get, not just with your business, but a lot of real estate agents that I've been working with, and watching a lot of agents really go through, two types of markets in such a short period of time.
mhm.
Um, it's fun to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's like my skill. I try to balance, even if I represent the buyer. I mean, I always think like, what does the seller think? Could think, right? Like, what is it for them? I mean, if the buyer comes to me like, let's offer 100,000 below asking, I'm like, "Ugh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
If it,
negotiating, right? You're
it's
not just like, oh, well, let's see what happens.
no, because I mean, I'll provide the comparable sales, and I'm gonna tell them like they're gonna tell us to f off because like, and then we make them angry, and then you're definitely not gonna get this
Right.
house. So
But
I
there's
mean,
people out there, real estate agents that would be fearful that if they were to say something along those lines, that the response of that buyer would be, well, if you're not going to do it, I'll find someone who does or
and
will.
and I would say go ahead,
Right.
but maybe because I am, yeah, I've been in real estate for this my 8th year now, and it's just it's like I don't know. You cannot let people tell you
Hmm.
to do things you just shouldn't do. I don't want to do. Like why? Just because you're seeing this commission check, if it doesn't come to fruition? Like you're just wasting your
Yeah,
time.
you don't get it. Yeah,
You don't get it, and then like
you don't get
why
paid until
going
you
through all
close.
those frustrations and like being mad about those clients behind their backs, and it's not healthy for you. Like it's just um,
Well, and that's why I brought it up, to bring it up full circle. I mean, we kind of started the conversation with, things that you are doing differently and creating these boundaries. And I think it's a good message for not just real estate agents, but salespeople in general, to walk that line of, being aware of making sure you're investing your time correctly, because there are
mhm,
definitely time bandits out there, and they will steal your time, and not only steal your time away from whatever it is you're looking to do in your life, but steal time away from other clients that you could potentially be helping. That's the one way I look at it, right?
correct.
Because sometimes I feel like when I have this conversation with people, I see the look in their eyes where they're like, but I have the time. I'm a new agent. You kind of said it in the beginning. You're like, I'm a
That's
new agent.
what
But
I was doing.
is it
Yeah,
debatable that you were giving time to clients that weren't worth giving time to? And by doing that, you were taking away time from clients that you'd never met, because you weren't putting in that time and shifting it to, you know,
mm-hmm. You would like spend the energy on someone who is not
exactly.
deserving, and then it's yeah, it's debatable. Like I don't know who I did meet and didn't
Right.
help.
Right.
I would never know because I was busy doing something else.
I think about that a lot in my business. It's like, I'm not saying like set boundaries and maybe tell a client that we're not a good fit, and then like, you know, go out for a long lunch,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, set those boundaries, create that distance, and then from there it's like, okay, just freed up a ton of time to go prospect
Correct.
and find new business. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people in sales do the latter. They do the long lunch, the, oh, I got to pick up my dry cleaning or whatever it is, because they hate prospecting. They hate it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you hate prospecting, then sales probably isn't for
It's
you.
not. Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many people I've met in this business that they will tell you that they're salespeople, but really they're just order takers. They're customer service representatives that, handing them a client that is ready to go and fully committed to doing business with that company, they're going to do a great job. They're going to provide great customer service,
Mm-hmm.
but they're just not salespeople, and they don't prospect. They don't generate new business. And I would encourage every real estate agent and salesperson in general to think about that and really be self-aware of whether or not,
Mm-hmm.
where do you stand? Because we also have run into a couple of real estate agents over the last couple of weeks that are no longer in the business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It isn't for everybody. But yeah, if you're floundering in this business and you feel like it's because you just can't generate new business as far as prospecting, hey, I know a company called Seamless Contracts. It's run by Amy Goldberg. We are going to give her another shout out. And she is on a semi regular basis looking for new transaction coordinators. And you know what? It turns out that if you feel like you are fantastic at real estate but don't know how to prospect, newsflash,
Yeah.
you actually are more of a transaction coordinator.
Yeah.
And that is okay. And if you're not closing real estate, or you're barely closing real estate, I can tell you, you're going to make way more money as a transaction coordinator than you're going to
That's
make as a
true.
broke real estate agent.
Yep. Yep. And this
So
is where you take orders.
that's
And
right.
just
You're gonna have people that come
work
in
on
and
the
like, what do I
file.
need? And they are, and they just need you to provide the very best customer service. So, anything else you want to cover?
But we can talk more about it a little more.
Let's go. What do you got?
This is why a lot of people think real estate is such an easy job, and they just come into it like
Why is that?
because they get the bad picture of what we actually do. They think you become a real estate agent, you get through your exam, and you have the license, and like, yay, clients are coming to me now. No, it's not
Yeah, but I also have a second
it's
theory on that. I feel like real estate agents do it to themselves because there's so many agents out there that are on social media and even in person,
mm,
and without knowing what they're really doing, there's no agent out there I ever really run into that's like, I'm broke. You have to, like, I don't know where it is in the like
nobody
job
says that.
description.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know where it is in the job description, but somewhere in the job description, someone has convinced real estate agents that you tell everyone that you're making tons of money and the market's great. Right. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there's a strategy behind that, but for the sake of this conversation, if every real estate agent is telling every person how fantastic that they're doing, it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy of packing your business full of people, because then other people are like, oh my gosh, I just talked to so and so and she is in real estate and killing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, is she really killing it, or did she say that she was killing it? Find me a real estate agent that is going to like go on social media right now and say, I just got into real estate, been doing it for 6 months. I haven't closed a deal. I work a part-time job because I can't close deals. Like, that's just never going to happen.
Nope,
It's never going to happen.
that's so
So if
true.
every agent is acting like you just get into real estate and just start crushing it, it creates a
False, like,
yeah, and it just creates like a pipeline of people that are like, man, I don't know what I want to do. Well, maybe I could be a real estate agent because it looks like everybody else is just fucking
mm-hmm.
killing it in real estate.
Yeah, yeah. But I've had like people, girls reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, I would like I'm thinking of getting a license. What can you tell me about it?" And
I always ask why.
I
Literally, why?
because they think they have a flexible job and they
Mm.
can make money as much as they can. Like,
Well, I mean, that part's true, but
so,
the one part that I feel like doesn't get talked enough about, and we actually talked about this weekend, is the paycheck, the dollar amount is endless. That's for sure. There is no ceiling. But to get to making really, really good, like, there is no like financial flexibility in real estate while also making like a shitload of money.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's not enough like explanation on that, because it's one or the other.
Yeah.
You either get the financial flexibility and you don't do very well financially, or you are busting your ass to make really, really good money. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, which one, if you're going to get a license, is more appealing to you? Because if you think you're going to make really good money and work like a 20-hour work week, it's not going to happen. I'm telling you
Exactly.
right now. Yeah, maybe after you've got like a decade in the career and you've built something, but like anyone getting into this business who thinks that, oh, I'm going to make really good money in my first year or two without just like eating, breathing real estate. Like, if you have kids, forget it. You better have a stay-at-home mom or dad. Forget it.
Or a
Otherwise,
full-time nanny for sure.
right. Otherwise, yeah, maybe you can make some walk-around money in your first
Yeah.
year or two.
Yeah, yeah. No, but when I meet with those people, like who are like interested in getting into real estate, I tell them flat out, like, you either have 100 grand laying around, you want to invest into marketing, etc.,
And to
to
pay
get the
yourself a little
first
bit of money to pay your
to
bills.
pay your bills, and you somehow like you need a way to get your first clients. You cannot just go around your family and friends like, hey, I became a real estate agent, choose me with your next purchase or sale. Like, who's gonna do that if you're like completely inexperienced? Like, whatever we learn in school is
Yeah, your
just
family looks at you like you're an idiot. They just don't tell you.
exactly.
They just don't tell you that.
Exactly. So you're not gonna get your first deal, maybe from your mom, who feels sorry for
You're
you.
lucky. Yeah, she feels
But
she feels like you won't talk to her if you don't use her.
yeah. But like, you whatever you learn in school is just how we can avoid getting sued. Like that's it. There's no practice whatsoever. You
Yeah.
learn on the field. And until you get that experience, it takes time and sales and like
Takes a long time. Really
so
does.
I mean it took me more than 3 years to be like, well, okay, I can live off
That's kind of the
what I'm
breaking point.
yeah,
I mean, I've been tracking agents for over a decade,
yeah.
and those of you that don't know me, we do a lot of these sales events. We do a lot of the training. I mean, we've even invested money in lead shares and everything like that with agents, and we still do. It's really just finding the right fit. But tracking agents, the 3-year mark really seems to be when real money happens. Um, I've seen people do it sooner, but they're making some serious investments in leads, going after clients they don't know, right? Um, that was one of the things that we talked about in the training. It's like you can't run a business off of people that you just know,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that is a finite amount of people. Now, you can do everything you can to network and continue to do all of the things. And, I do know agents that beat their chest that are like, my deals all come from referral business. Yeah, in year 10, 12, 14, what do you say to a new agent? No new agent is just like crushing it, killing it, doing business from their sphere of influence.
Mm-hmm.
You could do okay. And I've even talked to agents who have flat out told me, they're like, I had a phenomenal first year. I went through my entire sphere of influence and sold everyone a home. And I did okay with all things considered, but I'm out of I'm out of leads.
And well,
Like,
you'd never
I just sold
learn
everyone a home.
how to talk to a stranger and how to
Well,
convince them to be your client. So
right.
now you have to kind of go back
Yeah.
and learn how to do that.
No,
So
it's tough.
it is not easy, but yeah, if you're like self-motivated and smart, obviously, you know how to talk to people and you're not afraid and balanced emotions is another thing. It's just people get emotional all the time, and as a real estate agent, you cannot get on their level with the emotions. I mean, I've been yelled at and cried at.
I've seen it.
So it's just you have to stay calm. Don't be that agent who gets the emotions from their clients and get us over to you. Like, here, deal with that. So it's a roller coaster. But for me, I have so much fun doing that. I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy helping people. Um, it's like it's my life.
Ina enjoys collecting commission checks for helping people.
Of course, I enjoy
That's what James
getting
Proctor said.
paid.
Or I mean,
Of
James
course, I
McDonald
get
from
paid.
Proctor said, he was like,
I don't do this for free. Let's say that.
because you don't want to be the agent that's like, I just want to
Uh,
make money, and then you also don't want to be the agent that's like, I just want to help people. If you want to help people, listen, we had
I
the
didn't say that. I said I enjoy helping people.
right,
I did not say I just want to help people,
sure,
obviously. I enjoy meeting new people. Like I talked to my clients last week. They're like, Ina, how do you do that? Like I could never go around and meet strangers and like uh, I don't know, like deal with people in general. And I'm like, for me, it's I don't know. I love doing that. I love building new relationships and new people, being surrounded with people, and yeah, you just learn so much. And
see, but I have to stop you now. When what that soundbite creates is there are people out there now that are gonna be like, I am the same way. I enjoy meeting people.
yeah,
I enjoy
but this is
seeing
only one.
people and connecting with people. I should be a real estate agent.
No, this is not the only part of our job.
Okay, but I just want to make it clear because
But
that's listen, we've talked about this in sales. Clients hear what they want to hear. So when you
I cannot avoid that. But like, I'm just saying, you cannot be afraid of meeting
Mhm.
people in our job.
But I'm not. Now I'll be a real estate agent. I'll work 20 hours a week. I'll take my kids to school. I won't miss a school play. I'll do all of the things and I'll make $250,000 a year, right?
First of all, I'm not trying to convince anyone to become a real estate agent based on me liking meeting other people.
Right. Good. I'm glad. That's the
If you
part of
want
the
to
job you
talk
like.
more about like what else we are doing besides meeting new people.
One of my favorite comments that you made, and I wasn't at this presentation, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here because I'm going to paraphrase it because I wasn't there. But you told me that one of the agents that was at your brokerage stood up. He was doing really, really well, and he basically was like, I would say I don't like 80% of what I do at my job. I like about 20% of it, but I trade my time for money.
Correct.
And this is work. Like
Mm-hmm.
my job is my work. And yes, I don't hate every bit of it, but about 80% of it are all things that I don't really enjoy. I would rather be doing other things than the 80% of my job that I don't like. But I get paid very, very well for trading my time doing 80% of what I don't like to do. But don't get me wrong, 20% of it, it's fun. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it. And I think that right there, first of all, should be a metaphor for work. If it wasn't work, we wouldn't call it work.
Mm-hmm.
And then second of all, like that's not just real estate, but it definitely is real estate.
I mean, in your business, probably the
Oh
same
yeah.
thing.
I
I
don't
mean,
like 80% of what I do. I'd rather do
exactly.
something else.
Yeah.
I'd rather be on a podcast. I'd rather just do podcasts all day. It'd be great. And guess what? Now that I say that,
It
I've
probably gets boring
yeah,
too.
I've had days where I've done 3 podcasts. That's like my cutoff. I cannot do more than 3 podcasts. I just get drained.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as good as a host, and I'm kind of just over it.
Mm-hmm.
And so even podcasting, I couldn't do all day.
Correct.
So, yeah.
But that's true. I mean, 80, 90% of our job is not what we really want to do, but we have to.
Well, and I heard
I
a
mean,
very
driving around is not my favorite thing to
right.
do.
I heard a
I
very
do
wise
not
person
like
say
driving
that
around.
the only way to make money is to do something that people can't that do something people can't or don't know how to do, or do something that people don't want to do.
Correct.
Those are the only 2 ways to make money. Otherwise, you're probably paying to do it.
Yeah.
you know. Um, is there anything else you want to cover? We've been going for over an hour and a half now.
For real?
Yeah,
Oh wow. No, I'm good for now.
that's it, huh?
We'll meet next month, and then something new
Yeah,
will
we've got to have
happen.
you on more. I mean, you're always so concerned that we won't have any. Think about how this podcast started. For those of you that watched it and are watching this clip, go to the very, very beginning, and it starts off with me going, "What do you want to talk about?"
Me?
Me. And
Oh.
because I was teasing you because you're always like trying to script this thing before we come on.
In the beginning
And
of
now I'm
it's
like trying to boot you off my podcast because I have other stuff to do because we've already been going for almost an hour and a half.
yes. I'm good for now.
All right, fantastic. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Ina Kail, Compass now, 2024. We'll have to
Gonna
have
be
you
the
back on
year.
in like 30
It's gonna
days.
be the year. Yes.
Cool. You
I'll
did
be
good.
back.